begin with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance.
Lord, assist with thy Holy Spirit and counsel all those who are serving in positions of authority and responsibility.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we begin with a roll call, Madam Clerk? Ms. Alves has been detained by traffic, but she'll be here shortly.
Mr. McGee?
Here.
Mr. Yazbat?
Here.
Mr. Lawrence?
Present.
Mr. Ryder?
Here. Because the first item on our agenda requires Councilor Alves to be here because two of us are recusing, we will move on to other business, and I'd like to skip over, at least for this time, the Council 94 item, because I'd like to make sure that Councilor Alves is here for that. Unless anybody objects, I'd go right to item number 6. Ordinance amendment regarding one-way streets. This is listed as both a public hearing and discussion by council vote or other action on first reading. So for this, I would turn to the administration.
Well, you actually had it last meeting, did you not?
We did. We did review it
It was
last meeting.
reviewed at that point. We do have someone here who's been instrumental in bringing it to our attention, and I'd like to ask him to speak if he's interested. What we're looking at basically is a culmination of a resident bringing it to our attention, the state agreeing with the resident, the police department doing a study also to concur. So it's a small section of Maury Road that goes out onto Douglas Pike, and we're looking to have that be placed into the one-way section of ordinances. I would ask Mr. Jason Richer if he has a moment, if we could ask him just to weigh in on this so he can give you a better idea of what goes on over there.
Mr. Richard, if you could just state your name and address for the record, that would be great.
Jason Richard, I live at 45 Maury, Douglas Pike at the corner of Maury Road. And this street in particular is a 15 and a half feet wide road. It's not wide enough for two-way traffic. Any vehicles of any size that meet one another in this area, one has to pull off the road onto private property, either mine or my neighbor's, to get around one another. I've seen, can't tell you how many close calls, accidents, head-on collision just recently at the intersection. It's impossible for people to walk down that street safely. The opening to the road is 96 feet wide. The speed limit on Route 7 in that area is 40 miles per hour. People regularly travel at doing 55. And they leave Route 7 onto Maury at highway speeds. They treat it as an off-ramp like you would on a highway. I can't tell you how many people in the 2 years of owning this property have ended up on my lawn. Guardrail was taken out. My youngest son was almost hit there. I've 3 times since I've been living there ended up with my hands on the hoods of cars that are coming off of Route 7 slamming on their brakes. There's a couple of sections on both sides of the road where the topography does not allow someone to leave the roadway, and there's not enough room for 2 cars. So anybody that's on a bicycle or walking is going to get killed if they're not paying attention. And as was mentioned, I brought it up to the DOT's attention, and they concurred that the road is not wide enough for two-way travel. And the best course of action is to change this little section to one-way as an exit onto Route 7. I don't believe it's going to be much of a hindrance for anybody that lives in the area. I spoke with quite a few people that live in Barville and Tarpon Road. They're all in agreement that it should be a one-way. I have not spoken to anybody that opposes it. And I hope the council sees fit to follow through with the recommendations.
I'd like to defer to Councilor Zawinski, who's our liaison to planning and zoning issues. I know that you've inspected the intersection, and would you like to share your observations?
Thank you, President Flyers. Mr. Rich, I concur with everything you said. I went out there Saturday under better weather conditions and I drove down there. I just happened to hit it where there was no traffic coming. Say at 2:30, I went down, turned around to a little parking lot down there, and of course the inclement weather. Coming out, I encountered a school bus who was exercising the most caution in entering into Maury Road. even with that, my vehicle and that vehicle could not pass. So I agree with you. Thank you for bringing it to our attention, because if we don't live there and we don't see it every day, we don't have the problem. Twice I saw that. We also have a letter from our police department echoing concerns, serious concerns as well. And of course, RIDOT is kind of deferring to the town on this one. I would be in full support of making that a one-way. I would just say to the administrator, have you reached out to Mr. Woods or to Barberville to explain to them what RIDOT and what our police department, because that traffic comes out of Barberville and those folks will know as well.
Right, but
With adequate signing on the other side.
Yeah, I can certainly do that, that's no problem. As Mr. Richards said, he's spoken with people, you know, that would be ultimately impacted by that. It's a small section of Barberville, really, so. But yeah, I'll be happy to do that and make sure everybody's aware, and then we can move forward.
So this was on our agenda at the last meeting, but I don't believe that we considered it to be a first reading, and I frankly don't recall why.
I think it was my hesitancy too, because I had not received any paperwork, I had not had a chance to look at the road, and
Okay,
so I think we've all had the paperwork and an opportunity to drive over that.
thank you. So this is a public hearing. Is there anybody who would like to be heard on this issue? Besides Mr. Richard, that we've already heard from? If not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Yazbek, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor McGee and Zelinski. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now we have discussion by council, vote, or other action to consider this a first reading. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make that motion with, just to make sure, reassurance that the town of Smithfield reaches out to the town of Barberville. Make sure everybody's, emergency rescue personnel, all that stuff, so that the residents know that.
Motion by Councilor Zelinski. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor McGee. Is there any discussion? And so noted the concern about reaching out to the other community. Unless there's any further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Swansky?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes, motion carries. And thank you, Mr. Richard, for your diligence on this issue. I'd like to move at this time to item number 9. The North Smithfield Town Council, sitting as the Board of License Commissioners, is listed as renewal of yearly licenses. We have in our packet the complete list of the yearly licenses. Are there any questions on the part of the council?
Mr. President, I'll be abstaining. I have a number of clients listed.
So noted. Any comments on other members of the council on the yearly licenses?
I'll be abstaining.
Which means we need to probably wait until Councilor Allison is here. So do I need to make a motion to come back to this?
No, you can move the agenda around
Okay.
like this.
Okay. Let's see, what else we should do in the absence of Councilor Alves. So I would move to, unless anybody objects, to new business, item 11A, discussion by council, vote, or other action on resignation from Conservation Commission. This is listed as Mr. Johnson. I know that we've received a letter from Mr. Johnson explaining his commitments and his inability to continue serving on the Conservation Commission. Is there a motion to accept Mr. Johnson's letter of resignation and to send a letter of thanks?
So
Moved by Councilor Zelinski. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor McGee and Yazbek. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Swansky?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes. Item B under new business, discussion by council, vote, or other action on issues relative to the zoning office. And I turn to Mrs. Hamilton.
Well, I wanted to just make sure that we keep in the forefront issues that have either arisen over the last several months or new things that have come up. So I believe Mr. Johnson is here from the zoning department. If you could just come forward, and I just want to go over some things so you make sure that if you have any questions, we can answer them for you right now. If there's
in the last month. I've been doing the job since the beginning of September. And I've been doing basics on the list. We've worked on some proposed wording changes, some of the ordinances in the for the charter, the zoning board. Also, a dumpster ordinance will be presented to the new council by the next month. Some issues I've been finding on my travels throughout the town, which I think should be addressed. We're sitting, wrote some memos to the council on the Stamina Mills building and the Milk Crate building. Just following up some complaints with the Mendon Road Homeowners Association, we sent out notifications and resolved all their concerns, which was a total of about 6 concerns over the last month, but they've been addressed and completed.
Mr. Johnston, could you go back and say the names of those properties again? I just wasn't sure that I heard.
Oh, it was the Mendon Road Homeowners Association. That's all that came out. There was no name on it, but they sent us some pictures and some concerns, and we went back out and we addressed them, and they have been resolved. Also, we've been out working closely with Mr. Benoit, getting the court cases ready for municipal court for the last session and for this Wednesday session. Also been observing Mr. Benoit during his building inspection and his overall duties. Also connecting with other towns in the state to see how they handle things in their part of the state. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, as they say. So we follow along with what they have, so it can be consistent and save us a lot of time trying to develop our own processes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Well, comment, Mr. President?
Please.
As liaison to zoning and planning, I'd like to thank Mr. Johnson for taking the initiative, apart from the other duties you have to go out and start looking at some zoning ordinances and starting to, I wouldn't say craft, but meld them into North Smithfield. And I particularly like your number 9 bullet here, identify how other towns handle situations so as not to recreate the wheel. Much of that zoning in other towns has faced litigation and has come out successful, so it's a great way for us to get out of the curve on something. So thank you for your work so far.
Any other questions for Mr. Johnson? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under new business item C, discussion by council vote or other action on potential advertisements for town solicitor, assistant solicitor, probate court judge, and municipal court judge. Folks may remember 2 years ago, the newly installed council was in a bit of a bind because the term of the solicitor ended coterminous with the council, and they didn't leave very much time to entertain applicants for positions and to interview folks. And that was partly addressed by a charter amendment that was approved by voters that allows the solicitor at least to continue to serve until duly replaced, so that the incoming council can go through a process of selection and interviews. And I've heard from at least one councilor-elect that was interested in perhaps this council approving an ad to be placed for at least one of the positions, which is that of solicitor, so that we don't lose that amount of time between now and inauguration, which is December 1st, so that at least some folks can be made aware of the opportunity and can begin to submit applications. I'm not certain that it's required for all of the other positions, but I put it on the agenda just for discussion by the council. So I would be inclined to support delegating to the town administrator the placement of an ad, either in a paper of circulation or through bar association or other avenues, to at least begin the process of soliciting letters of interest and resumes. But I open it up to the council if anybody has any thoughts or suggestions or recommendations.
Mr. President?
Counselor?
If we could consider, I think it should definitely be placed in the newspaper of general circulation. And of course, if you want to go to some bar association as well, to cast a wider net. I'm not sure now. On the agenda, we have it listed for solicitor, assistant solicitor, probate judge, and municipal court judge. If we can, then it's not a violation of the charter. I would like to see all of them listed, and those that are interested would apply, reapply, and go through an interview. Open, and we got into this last time, I believe, that there is some, we have to be careful with this because it is negotiation and looking for employment, but I think some of the process should be open like we did last time. We had it completely open in town hall, but I think that's something that the new council coming in is going to have to work on. To Mr. Lombardi, kind of if you could guide me, I'm one of them, and I see we have two in the audience tonight that are going to be working on this. Is this something we should post in this building, town hall building? And last time, there's maybe 4 people showed up from the public. This time, there may be more.
Right, are you talking about interviews?
Yes.
That's, I don't know, like, I don't know how many people will show up, but you can try it at town hall. If it doesn't work, move it here. But, you know, a smaller environment might be better for you.
And would you suggest that these interviews be open to the public? I can see that we would create a short list, and then at that point, maybe executive session, because it has to do with,
If you're going to talk about job performance, I think there's an exception. But if you're not going to talk about job performance, I think it has to be an open session. But I can give you a better opinion after I look at everything.
thank you.
Just as background, the interviews that took place 2 years ago were in open session. It was rather awkward because the other candidates could come in as well, and we didn't have a whole lot of space to work with if we did it at the town hall. And it did feel a little awkward to be conducting an interview that was in open session, and I'm not sure that was necessarily required, but we did do it that way. So I guess we'll defer to, or the new councilors will defer to whoever's judgment is represented by the existing solicitor, whether that be you until somebody else takes over, or, but just to confirm, you are prepared to continue to serve until you're replaced, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Make a motion that the town administrator be authorized to place an advertisement in the local newspaper for the positions of solicitor, assistant solicitor, probate court judge, municipal court judge, at a price not to exceed $500 to be paid out of contingency.
Motion by Councilor Yazbek, is there a second? Seconded by Councilor McGee, is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Swansky?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes, motion carries. At this time, I'd like to move up to old business item G, discussion by council vote or other action on revisions to condemnation of plat 2755 Cold Spring Park to the Meadows. And for this, I will turn it to Councilor Robert Harris.
You previously approved the original version. This one is 500 square feet more. Honestly, I think it was a typo in their adding, because I can't find any difference in the actual layout of it. So instead of 33,381, it's now 881, which sounds to me a lot like a typo, but they won't tell you that. So it's just to make this change, and this replaces the other one.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Erickson?
Mr. President,
Yes.
under the advice of the town planner in the review of discussion to revisions, condemnation, plat 2755 Cold Spring Park to the Meadows, that means the bike path lane, in case anybody out there is not following that, is not aware. I would like to make a motion that we approve this revision offer, and the just compensation remains the same at $1?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Zawinski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McGee, is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Swansky? Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Yazbek.
motion that the administrator be authorized to sign.
Motion by Council Yazbek, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilors Zawinski and McGee. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Swansky? Mr. Flaherty?
Yes, motion carries. At this time, I would propose to take a 5 or 10 minute recess. We have other, unless there's anything that's, I'd prefer that for the remaining items that we wait for Councilor Alves, for a variety of reasons. In some cases, we need her because more than 2 of us are recusing.
This one?
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
All right.
I mean, frankly, we don't have a ton more on the agenda. I mean, we have some issues that may take some time, but we're going to need Councilor Alves for that, so.
Motion to take a recess for 10 minutes.
Second.
Motion been made by Councilor Yazbek, seconded by Councilor Zawinski. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. We're in recess.